welcome to another episode of the Web Marketing Show. Today I'm very excited. I've got Penny DeVilliers on the show. Welcome, Penny.
Hi.
Now, Penny is, well, we've been having a discussion prior to kicking off, and it's very exciting because, while a lot of people talk about social media, there's a lot of people that talk from a technical standpoint about how to set up your social media account. There are plenty of people that talk from a design perspective of what your account should look like. You're a personal branding person, so welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Talk to us about personal branding. What should we be doing? Give us a bit of a roundup on it.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. Thanks, Brent. It's great to be here from sunny South Africa. And it's very exciting, not just what's happening in our country, but around the world. I think how people like Oprah sort of opened the platform for this market, that people could become, although she had a television station and the Donald Trumps of these worlds, but they showed us that, here were platforms for people to begin to brand themselves. And since then, there have been hundreds of stories in our country. Our last year's top blogger was a housewife.
Wow.
Who actually blogged about her boring life, what to make for supper, her poor relationship with her husband. and people just loved the fresh story that this woman brought to the fore. And I work with a lot of people that have got excited about the fact that their unique story, their angle on things, is what people want to hear. And yeah, that is really what branding is. We all brands, whether we like it or not. You get those who say, I'm not a brand, I'm a person. But yes, you are a brand, because if people have a perception about you, whether you like it or not, when you walk out the room, they think something about you. In fact, they say within 3 seconds of meeting you, people have already determined your socioeconomic status and your education.
Wow.
And so how people perceive you is really important and can affect your whole life.
Okay. Well, that's very powerful, and I know we do it subconsciously. We judge people. So it's amazing that it only takes 3 seconds. So in the split, 3 seconds, we know everything about that person. And how often do we get it wrong? And you were saying, we had a little bit of a chat earlier, that, companies spend, well, I guess there are companies that spend millions, tens of millions of dollars on branding themselves and making themselves look good as a brand, so that they, distinguish themselves in the marketplace, between themselves and their, their competitors. But we as people, we don't. And yet it's vital. So tell us about that. I mean, obviously we know about USPs for business, unique selling propositions, and that. We as people also obviously have an identity. We have a brand. We can package ourselves. We have a unique selling proposition. What is the message that we should be putting out there to the marketplace?
Yeah, I wish it was as easy as that. But anyone who's ever been in marketing or in a room where they've had a brand, sitting down and actually working out what is unique about you is a job. And then working out what your strengths and talents are is another job. And then deciding who your target market is and what do they want, that's another job. But we need to do these things. We need to profile our fans. We need to say, where do they live? Are they just locals? Are they international? I mean, for me, for example, I do clients in Dubai, America. I don't just work locally, but if you're an estate agent and you're selling property in a local area, that you might be local, but you might still want to work globally, and those kind of things, and who's listening to your story. And I think more and more, Seth Godin sort of had that whole philosophy of tribal thinking, of working within your tribe, and the tribe being people who, if you're a greenie and a vegetarian, there's a certain thinking around that, and you don't eat meat, you recycle, you've got a certain, I'm just generalizing, but you start categorizing people and meet them in the areas that they would be. And your website starts looking like that, more natural, so everything is aimed around who you're speaking to. And I think as personal brands, we just don't have time for ourselves. We're always busy with this and that. And I call it marketing from the inside out. Really spending some quality time understanding these things. And I recently wrote a book on how to market the real you using social media. And half of the book is about who the real you is. Packaging yourself, because it doesn't help that we're all unique, you know. We've got to be able to package that it actually sells. Being unique is just not enough.
Okay. So how does it work? Do we kind of try and think up who we want? I mean, you know, if I'm starting a company, I kind of think, okay, what is this company? What does it do? Who's the market? What is the perception that I want people to have of my company? That's easy to do. As a person, we can't really do that. We are who we are, and we can't change that. So I wouldn't imagine that we can just sort of say, look, I want to give out the vibe that I'm this person, and it's not going to work. We are who we are, and we need to work with it. Would that be a fair call?
You do have to work with it, but there's things that you can, you know, we're not trees planted in the ground, fixed things. We are people that can learn public speaking, dress properly, and sharpen our skills, learn to communicate better, because these are skills that you need to, you know, the late Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Okay.
And we have to consider that, sorry, you know, I am who I am is not good enough. If we represent ourselves as a business, I'm not talking about being fake. You know, if I went into an ad agency yesterday, and I was the oldest person in the room. I think everyone was between the age of 19 and 25. You know, and that is the industry, the way that industry is going. I can't dress like a 19-year-old, and I can't be a 19-year-old, but I can be with it and trendy and young in mind, and still fit into that group.
Sure.
So I think it's about knowing who your target market is, but still presenting yourself within your target market to meet your target market. If your target market is very conservative and you have bright red hair, you know, you are not going to go down well in your target market. So you've got to have a look at those things. I don't believe in fake. I think people can smell fake 200 miles away today, and no one enjoys that. But I do think I've met a lot of clients that tell me, for example, the guy says he's an insurance consultant, or he's in medical health, and you look at these people and their target market, the last time they went for a new haircut or bought a new shirt, or they just don't look the part of someone that you would think is with the latest trends, who knows what's going on. They look like they're in the dark ages, and now you want somebody who you feel is with the market and growing with the industry. So there are definitely things we can do to affect our image.
Okay, so it's all about consistency. If we feel we're putting a message out there, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, am I being congruent with my message that I'm trying to put out there? How do we know what others think about us? How do we get that kind of feedback?
I'm doing that. I think I've got a little audit in my book, and I suggest that people do it with 10 of their friends, and they can actually send it by email, and because your friends will hopefully, you know, be honest with you, and you can send it to 10 people you work with, 10 clients. Say to them, you know what, it's really important to me. I'm doing a little audit. I want to ask you a couple of questions. And you ask them targeted questions around how would you describe my body language? How would you describe my communication style? Do you think I'm an introvert? Do you think I'm an extrovert? If I talk about personal branding, do you think I'm more marketing orientated, or would you trust me to build your website? Is that how you see me? How would you describe the 3 things that you think that I do for a living? That is fascinating. People ask clients what they think they do. Their friends, and the answer is completely not congruent with what they do.
Sure. And do you still have the same 10 friends at the end of the exercise? They still talking? Are you still talking to them?
You know, I think that is the power of social media. I've got a client who's also written a book lately, and we're publishing his book, and he wasn't sure on the cover. And we put the cover out there in social media, and within 2 days, you know, he had this amazing response from friends and family, and obviously his followers in business. And he decided on a different cover to which he'd set out with, you know, in mind with. So I think that is the negatives about social media being out there, being live, being dangerous, as everybody always fears. But the reality is you can get feedback on your product, on your business, on your communication, one post.
Instantly.
In the old days, it would have cost you a fortune. You would have printed that book and no one would have liked the cover and no one would have liked the heading. And logos, the same. You can send some logos out. Ask clients what they think about your new logo change. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to get feedback if we want it. Most people don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, it's certainly awesome. Social media, I mean, there's no place to hide anymore. The world's become a much smaller place, which, good or bad, there's obviously a lot of negative and there's a lot of positive. But as you rightfully said, things that we can do now at the click of a mouse, would have taken us days, weeks, months, and in some cases years, and lots of money as well. So, and also, quite often if we have an opinion ourselves about something, like, we come up with a great logo and we get emotionally attached to it and think, well, I like that logo, it's awesome, it represents who I am and my company and all the rest of it. We can stick it on a post on Facebook or Twitter or whatever and get instant feedback. And it, more often than not, is completely different to what we first thought. And it's so time saving because let people let our customers decide for us. So social media, I mean, that's huge, and that's one of your areas of expertise. How should we best be using social media to brand ourselves? How can we put our message out there and make the most effective use of the medium?
Well, I think I just want to repeat myself, again, be very clear about your message. Be very clear about the value that you're offering your customer and what difference you make in life, and be aware of their problems. So once you've really established that and you've established a brand and a look and a feel, I think the next step is to really understanding keywords and understanding that everything today on the internet is driven by Google and by search. And all those little opportunities you get along the way in your Twitter. The Twitter's become fantastic now. The new design Twitter, you can put, a really nice picture in, a nice branded picture of your logo at the back. You've got 3 opportunities for graphics, and then you've got this wonderful opportunity to describe what it is you do. But people go about using it, and LinkedIn as well. I'll just add them together as almost like CVs, but they're not. They're an opportunity for you to really sell and market yourself. And secondly, that whatever words you choose, I'll give myself one as an example. The word personal branding is not really greatly searched.
Okay.
People search social media, marketing, careers, but my word personal branding, I use it, but it's not the only word I use because it's not really well searched. So in my titles and in my LinkedIn and my Twitter, I make sure that I'm using words that people search. When I do clients, for example, the guy says he's a chief executive officer, and that's what he's got, chief executive officer at Barclays Bank. And that's the title on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn doesn't work like that, First of all, the word CEO is searched 500,000 times more than the word chief executive officer. So you shouldn't use the word chief executive officer. You should use the word CEO. And that kind of homework you can do for free on Google AdWords. You just put the words in, type it in, and for free they tell you how many times those words are searched in your country or in other countries, depending where you're marketing. So I think that's just, I've got a lot to say, but these things are very key because it's all about being found. So number one, it's about how you look, and secondly, how people perceive you. And then when you start getting involved with social media, it's about how you searched. How do people look for you? What words do they use when they look for your service or for you? And when they find you, what's the photograph? That's my favorite. There's in Facebook, like your name, Brent Price. I don't know how many Brent Prices there are, but it's quite amazing when you go onto Facebook or Twitter. There's hundreds of people with your name.
Yeah.
And so the differentiating factor the person's got, if they have met you or seen you on Skype or seen you online or whatever, is your photograph. And then people have got a picture, of a zebra or a giraffe or their children.
Yeah.
Or they're on their surfboard in a board meeting and you can't quite see them, and so I think that's also recognition is very important.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of that is common sense, isn't it? It makes sense, especially, when you describe it and explain it. It's like, well, if somebody's looking for me, they know what I look like, and there's 300 Brent prices, well, they're going to eliminate it because I don't look like a zebra, and I don't ride a surfboard. So, it makes sense. Use a photo of yourself.
And you can put photo close up, because these little squares, these icons today on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, they're minute. The little icons that appear, where your name appears, not when they click through to you, when they're looking for you in search engines. It's a couple of centimeters, but, it's minute. So have something that's close up. And I had a client recently, he's a private investment banker, and his photograph, he looks like, it's like gorgeous, handsome, like he's on a dating site, and he's like, and I said to him, come on, and we put this picture of him with this black and white suit, just looking like, listen, I'm a CEO, I can do business with your company, you can, and I look at pictures of, even Steve Jobs, he just promoted himself, he was a man you could trust, and every photograph that he used just said that. So photographs say something about you, They say something about, people use, photographs are really important. And I think if you don't have that, and it seems like obvious, okay, but I see it so much that it's not actually utilized. It is obvious, but it's not done. People take a picture on holiday with their cell phone, with the Caribbean in the background, and they're trying to sell somebody a Lamborghini. Or whatever, it's got to, maybe that one will work actually.
Yeah.
The lifestyle, the car and the lifestyle.
They've made it, yeah.
The lifestyle, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, so it starts obviously with a photograph. I mean, that has to be congruent with your message as well. If your target market is CEOs and executives of big companies, then obviously a photo with you and the kids down at the beach isn't going to be as congruent as obviously if you were marketing surfboards or something dressed in a 3-piece suit, that wouldn't work either. So
I think LinkedIn has become the most awesome opportunity for businesses, and they are spending millions on upgrading LinkedIn for businesses, that you can have mini websites now on LinkedIn linked to your personal profile, your own company, for nothing. It costs you nothing to create. You can put in umpteen services, you can put in beautiful graphics, and you can post from your business site onto your status and get followers. So there's this fantastic opportunities for you to really start connecting with whoever your network is and wherever they are.
And we don't know the way technology is going, what's around the corner for us. What we do know is that we start branding now. We're getting a bit of a head start in there. And the thing we also need to be mindful of, obviously, is that what we say on the internet and what we do, it's there forever, and it could potentially come back to bite you.
What do they say? What you say in Vegas stays in Vegas, but what you say on Facebook also stays on Facebook.
Stays on Facebook, and it may not be necessarily what you want to stay in. You got teenage kids or whatever, and you try and tell them all the time, be careful what you say, because it's gonna, you might only be a teenager now, but one day you're going to be in your 30s or 40s, and you're going to regret it. So talk to us about your book. So how to market the real you using social media. Tell us about that.
The books actually came out of a passion that I really have, is helping people. It sounds, my friends tell me it sounds like wishy-washy, helping people meet their dreams and reach their dreams and yeah. But I see it happening, and I think it's very exciting for me, because I have clients that started with me, whether they're with me or not, it doesn't matter. But I have clients who bear testimony to the fact that they've got involved in social media, they've started putting themselves out there, They've realized there's a fantastic platform for them to share their message with their users, with their friends, with their networks, and grow those networks. And they're starting to see financial results from a medium which costs them a little bit of time and effort, but not the kind of expense that we had to face when we wanted to go. You look at radio now, and you look at television, you look at those expensive networks that the average person couldn't use. So the book really takes you through a process of identifying yourself, your strengths, your core competencies, and turning those into USPs, value statements, value propositions, and then using the different platforms. I focus on what I call the sort of big five: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Google+. In our country, we have, the big five animals. So for me, these are the big five animals.
Okay.
Of the internet.
Good analogy. So, it makes perfect sense. So if we've already made a start, we've already got a bit of a profile on LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube and that kind of thing, should we stop what we're doing, buy your book, and rebrand ourselves, or is it too late?
Absolutely. Buy today. There's no such thing in social media as too late. Because, I always say, the old story of the journey of 1,000 miles. It starts with one step. Take the step. And if you've used the wrong tag words, and if you don't have a big following, you can start again. If you have a big fan base, be creative. Do what you have to do. Today you can point websites anywhere you want them to go. Facebook allows you one change. You can, you make a change to your Facebook brand. There are really, and there's fantastic things available for people that can't afford services. There's YouTube. You can YouTube anything, how to create a fantastic LinkedIn profile. Whatever you want to know, you can YouTube, and you can do it yourself. If you can't afford to outsource it to people like us, they're the tools, Just learn how to do it and do it, because no one will ever take away from you this legacy that you build online. You can work for a company and you can connect with all of their staff. They have 22 million staff around the country, or they're a small company. Let's say they've got 5,000 staff members, and you connect with those people. You leave that job, you've got 5,000 connections. When I launched my book, I had over 1,000 friends alone that I could send Facebook requests to and launch my book through them, and just through my friends I could make sales. So these are opportunities, and I find a lot of people come to me. I also had a recent banker that was retrenched, actually, and he was an elderly man in his 50s as a banker, and he just said to me, I'm not sure where I'm going to go now. And I said, please tell me you're connected to your client base through LinkedIn. And he said, no. He said, those emails, I don't have access to my old email anymore, therefore I cannot invite them, and link them to my profile. So we have to understand that what we're doing today is building on tomorrow. The connections, you never know where you're going to be in your life. But the nice thing in the old days, you could have an email list 5 years ago. Today it's probably worth nothing, because those people probably don't have those email addresses, or they've moved on. But with social media, people update their profiles. So you've always got this current connection. Your connections today will last for the rest of your life. Your emails today probably won't last for the rest of your life, but your connections will. Not that I ever underestimate emailing. Emailing is becoming a very big thing.
Yeah, huge networking opportunity, and like you said, you just don't know where you're going to be tomorrow. You don't know what's around the corner. So take full advantage of the opportunities that are here now to network with people, and you don't know who they're connected to as well, and that's the beauty of LinkedIn, isn't it? You connect to somebody who's connected to somebody who's connected to somebody who's really going to open the next big door for you. And you know, you just don't know, and just makes the world such a smaller, much smaller place. So yeah, look, I mean, as far as our branding, and you were talking about services that you offer. I mean, this is obviously something that you specialise in doing for people. So talk to us about that. So you actually build profiles and that, and sit with clients, work out their brand, and then take that to market.
That's right. Yeah, the most important part for me, and people are always astounded that people still do this today, you know, because we're in quite a digital era, so everything is just sort of, you know, almost, I think it's, you know, part of it has become impersonal, and people like it that way. Us citizens or whatever, you know, they don't want you to come and see them for a meeting, just email me, you know, and we're all sort of moving into that era. But what I like to do is really spend time on Skype with people, identifying what it is they're trying to achieve. And often it sounds like a repetition, but you can't believe how when finally uncover what it is that they're really trying to achieve, their branding and their marketing in the past is not aligned to it. If you look at their last 10 tweets or their last 10 Facebook posts, they're actually not emphasizing where that person wants to go. They're not calling on the market that person's calling on. And one can, no matter how far we go into this digital era, we can never move away from strategizing and understanding where it is one wants to go. And I do feel that where you want to, I think it was that Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, and he said, which way would you like to go? And Alice said, well, it doesn't really matter. And so the Cheshire Cat said, well, then it doesn't matter which road you take.
It's really been awesome having you on the show. I really appreciate it. You've got some great insights. You've obviously got a wealth of knowledge about branding and particularly using the tools that we have available. So yeah, look, I mean, again, thanks heaps for coming on the show and sharing some ideas with us. And so yeah, go to Penny's website, introducingyou.com, grab her book, How to Market the Real You Using Social Media. Penny, it's been awesome. Thanks a lot. And we'll speak again soon.
Okay, Brent.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.